Yes, yes, yes.
Hello everyone and welcome to a Celtic World. Clearly that was not the correct intro because this is not the North American CSC, so that's the first blunder of the night, so I'm not sure how that happened, but here we are, and let's get right into it. So welcome everyone in the comments, and welcome to my two fellow contributors tonight. First I'll say hello to Brian in Banbridge in Ireland. How are you, Brian?
Not too bad. Even better after yesterday's result by the Mighty Dons. So yeah, just taking one game at a time, not getting too bogged down, but all good. How's you keeping? And David, how you, David?
Yeah, I'm not. David in Vietnam. How are you doing, mate?
Very well. Just delighted to be here, and we're entitled to play any opening from any part of the world because we are a Celtic World. There is no correct opening for us, right? Anywhere we want to be.
Yeah, that's it, mate. We can do whatever we want. So
Yeah.
I won't do the from somewhere to somewhere else or anything like that. We all know we're a Celtic World, and we're a worldwide fan base. And we'll just get into what we're going to talk about today. So I'll put this little ticker up. Firstly, I thought we would start on a bit of positivity. We'll talk about the recent international break, where we had a lot of really good results for Scotland and Ireland. Then we'll jump into the St Mirren game. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. And then we'll probably jump into the main business for the night, which is the AGM, which went ahead on Friday past, and all the ensuing drama that came out of that. And we'll see if we can make a bit of sense out of it. And then we'll finish off probably with a touch on the manager search. If there even is a management search going on, who knows? So just put that ticker up. So yeah, the international break. So we've got two Scotsmen and an Irishman on here, and so I'll go to the Irishman first, Brian. Since you the Public Island game went ahead, and they managed. In fact, they won two games in a row against Portugal and Hungary, with a really dramatic finish in Hungary. So how did you watch that game?
I did sort of. In between, you know what I'm like whenever stressful games, I sort of watch behind the sofa. Going back to the Portugal game, if somebody said to me you'd get 6 points out of those two games, I would have laughed at you. I mean, my World Cup or our World Cup dream, as far as I was concerned, was well over. Couldn't believe it. We won 2-0. Ronaldo sent off Troy Parrott once again. And then I turned on the game 5 minutes in, 1-0 down. I just went, here we go again. And then brought it back to 1-8. I couldn't believe it. And then Scales at the end, the assist. It reminded me of the old days, Jack Charlton, keep going to the final whistle. And, you know, we wanted it more. Sorry, I'm saying about Denmark against Hungary, sorry. And the guys were just, I mean, I'm looking at Scotland, and you guys have got some world-class players. I can safely say McTominay would walk into any team in the world, as would McGinn, Andy Robertson, KT. Apologies if I've missed anyone out. But our team are literally a bunch of guys, you know, Scottish SPL kind of level, and, you know, journeymen and boys that are sort of playing second division or lower divisions. So from that point of view, it was great. The team, you know, in the past, we've had boys like Robbie Keane, Damien Duff, Roy King, good players, Steve Staunton, but maybe not the cohesion. But fair play to the manager to get us to this stage, because I thought we were dead in the water. I mean, it was just unbelievable, and a great Celtic connection too. You know, Scales with the assist. Adamita played his part. Forgive me if Johnny Kenny as well. So it's all good to see. And you know, I always support Scotland and Ireland, or, you know, well, saying that, I've always liked Scotland from the days of a long time ago, but most recently, 98 squad, I think Celtic had 10 players in the squad. But delighted for us, brothers in arms and all the rest of it. And I just hope to God you don't get England around like that, or like Scotland, Brazil, Argentina and Germany in the one group. You just need a bit of luck. And I think you'll get it. I'm hopeful, you know. But big well done to you guys for qualifying, just as a breath of fresh air. And fantastic.
Yeah.
The goals were the best I've ever seen, you know.
Yeah, it was an incredible game, and I have to admit that when it got into the later stages of the game and it was 2-2, I thought it was just another glorious failure. And you know, to see them get over the line in injury time, especially with Kieran Tierney getting the more important goal. I mean, the Kenny McLean goal was nice, but the Kieran Tierney was the important one, and I was just so delighted. I watched it in a pub down in Sydney, and you know, it was pretty full. And it was just an amazing feeling. So it's interesting what you said there about journeyman, Brian. And what I would say is, you know, someone like Evan Ferguson is what we are missing, like a really top class striker. And I think that's the thing that holds Scotland back. We do have, you know, as you say, like a world class midfield. But I think the lack of a striker is what will hold us back. But David, what did you catch the Scotland game? Were you out watching it?
No, I didn't, and in many ways that was good enough for me, because I woke up to all of the brilliant news and all of the record breaking that was taking place. So I've actually enjoyed. I didn't watch it. I genuinely don't have an international interest. I find those international breaks really disrupts my enjoyment of Celtic. But on this occasion, it was very much enjoyable. McTominay, I think, record-breaking. I saw something about him having beat Ronaldo's overhead kick in terms of height, that was a world record now as well for him. So, Brian, I reckon you're right. He's some player, isn't he?
Can walk into any team in the world, and I may put hang my hat on that. He's the best. You'd say I'm British, but for me, he's the best. I think he's the best Scotland player since Dalglish.
Incredible stuff. And I think maybe our board might want to round up all of the Scotland supporters and create an earthquake, or they might not like that, because there's one coming to them later, as we'll get into discuss. Because the Scotland support actually registered an earthquake because of the celebrations, which I don't know. But did that actually happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
We went on the Richter scale.
Unreal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did read that in the Daily Record. I'm not 100% sure I believe it, but we'll take it. One of those things that seeps into mythology.
That's right.
Anyway, so that's the positivity out the way. So let's get into the doom and gloom, which is the world of Celtic at the moment. So we're going to spend a bit of time talking about the game on Saturday night. Weird kickoff time. I think it was 8 o'clock on a Saturday night at home, and it was 7 o'clock in the morning here in Sydney. So not too bad for me. So I got to watch it live. So we'll just start with the starting lineup. So Brian, any surprises with the lineup?
I was surprised that Ralston was playing. Only reason because I thought he maybe took a knock on when he was playing for Scotland, but other than that, seems to be the best team we could put on the pitch. No real surprises, or maybe Hatate starting, but over Negrin. But no, other than that, nothing really too startling.
Yeah, I think the Hatate thing was probably due to the fact that Negrin had played two internationals, and I don't think Hatate played at all for Japan, so he should have been fairly fresh. Interested to see Donovan on the bench after getting stretchered off for Scotland under-21s. So that was good that he's not injured. We have a fairly horrific injury list at the moment, don't we, David?
And it gets worse, and CCV is out not only for us, but he also will miss the World Cup, and that is really sad news for him as a professional player. I don't know the latest on Alistair Johnston, but to use your phrase, Steve, the paucity of our team is what we get given to try and get us results, isn't it? So no surprises in the selection at all, because that's what we've got. I think we want to push. Everybody's interested to see more from Sinisalo. Balak-Wisha doesn't look as if he's impressed in training at all, and anything that we've seen of him keeps him on the bench. And if you look at what we've got there, that is the team, I suppose, that we will have to put up with and probably past January. So, yeah, no surprises in the team.
Yeah, okay, so we'll move on to of the incidents that I could find, especially in the first half. There was nothing positive from Celtic at all. The first half was generally probably our poorest half of football of the season, from my point of view. And the first thing I came across was this one, where Ralston gets absolutely skinned by the St Mirren winger. You can see him lying on his arse here at the side of the box, and the cross comes in, and how they don't score from this situation, I'll never know. Brian, you must have thought. Did you see the game first, Brian, before I started?
I did watch the game, but it passed me by until the 94th minute. And saying that it was 8 o'clock, and I probably had a few Guinness watching it. But a very poor game, and it's always like that after the international break, getting the boys back, and we always, seem to drop points. But yeah, not great from Tony Ralston. Not good at all. But I mean, St Mirren's tight pitch, and I thought
I don't know how they didn't score that, Brian. They had to score that. There was two of them on that and had an absolutely open goal.
Was that McManaman that missed?
No idea how it didn't go in.
Yeah, so I mean, what happened is the guy who's just obscured in the middle of the goal there slides in, gets a foot on it, but not quite enough to divert it in. And there's another guy at the back post, so the first guy doesn't make any contact. He's got a tap in. So again, really, really incredible that we got away with that one there, and we were very poor in the opening stages of the game. And this was another one, and this was McManaman, who's got a shot away.
Yeah.
You can see from that one there that Schmeichel's not getting anywhere near it, but fortunately for us, it shaves the post. So yeah, they were all over us at this point. We were really hanging on in the game. And the next incident of any note I could find was into the second half. We made some changes at half time. Johnny Kenny went off. He was having a generally abysmal game. But I think that's probably as much to do with the service he was getting as anything else. But made some changes at half time. Do you think they made much of a difference, David?
What was interesting me about the subs was Tenecti, when he went off, he was furious. I don't know if you saw him when he got replaced from Yang. He was not a happy bunny. And I kind of like that, actually, I suppose, in the sense that he felt that he was doing all right. Because if you notice in the first half, and there wasn't much to note, when things did happen, I felt as if he was part of that. And he looked as if he had plenty of legs to get through the second half. But I don't know if you saw it, I'm fresh from the game because I watched it just half an hour before we came on again, and I caught his face and he was furious. I think Yang was certainly delivered the ball sort of on second in line to deliver it to McGregor for his goal. So I think if you could argue that him being on there, but largely as I watched the first, because the substitution was fairly early, I didn't think he had any kind of influence in the game at all. So I think you're kind of swapping like for like. You need a tactician. We need a Paul or an Anthony to come and tell us is Mahesh, and maybe we need to have him tell us whether or not tactically it made any difference. I never noticed it.
Yeah, but I think I don't know why Taneke was furious coming off, because he was, as David says here, he was generally pish in the first half, and he, you know, I think he's doing okay, Taneke, but he sort of sank back to the standard of the rest of the team. Now, he looked good for a few weeks, but he's struggling with his end product again. And I wasn't surprised he got taken off. Yang was terrible when he came on as well, but he did provide the ball. He did sort of go past his man and provide the cross, which did end up becoming McGregor's winner, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I didn't see anything from Taneke to suggest he should have stayed on. Interesting that he took when he put Maeda central. He put Luke McCowan playing on wide right, and that must be like the 10th different player we've tried wide right this season. Brian, that kind of sums up where we are with right-sided players, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's players playing for the club at the minute that wouldn't get anywhere near the team. You know what I mean? Last year or certainly a year and a half. But I think it's a case just now of just sucking it up and trying to just getting the points on the board. I don't care about free-flowing football. And I think there's something like, did I hear there's something like 15 games ahead of us or something? And no, 10 games in 15 days coming up, or am I whistling Dixie once again? I think there's maybe that's too many, but there's certainly a lot of football getting played over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and getting points on the board. But I'm looking at G-Dog's statement there. Maeda was an empty jersey. I agree with him on that. You know, the sooner we get the transfer window, we get a few players in, and the people that don't want to be there, get them out the door, and I would stick Balikwisha out on loan somewhere and see if he's, you know. But there's certainly players. I mean, Tunetke, I think, is flatters to deceive. I don't want to get on the kid's back because he's a vital player for us because he's a starter. But we are where we are, and thank God we're, you know, for the Dons for helping us out, you know. But that's the team at the minute. It's not great. We're missing a lot of people. There's people that shouldn't be anywhere near the club. You know, there's boys should be playing for maybe Motherwell or Kilmarnock or something, and they're starting for us. But yeah, St. Martin.
This one here was in the first minute of the second half, so it was that sort of made an instant impact, and it just sort of Maeda just kind of fell over his own feet there, as he's prone to do. Next, we'll talk about probably the most controversial incident of the game was the Liam Scales' own goal, which was flagged offside, and then confirmed as offside by VAR. My take on this was that it was clearly offside, and the guy, you know, Scales lunges at the ball because he sees the guy in the offside position. I think if that guy's not there, I think the keeper comes out and just claims it, and I don't think Scales panics like that. So for me, despite the gurning of the Huns about this and the St Mirren fans, it was clearly the correct decision to flag him offside. David, do you have any alternative take on that?
No, I think you've got it right. I mean, when I first saw Scales' involvement, and he obviously pushed the ball towards, but I think you're right. I think he, in the situation, because he was kind of almost parallel to the park, he was stretched out and trying to protect the keeper. But it was definitely, there was no question. It was offside, so there should be no arguments about it. But I think, you know, just overall, our defence was pretty ropey for the whole match. Certainly, in the first half, St Mirren should have done way better with the mess that we were at the back and the paucity. I love that word now. of what's happening with players missing. But it's but in that situation, I think you described it well. I think I'll forgive Scales, no issues, and it was offside.
Yeah, well, we were talking about St Mirren fans complaining. Did you come to hear all the shouting and swearing that was coming for their main stand? The commentator that I was watching the game, it was Ian Crocker from Sky, apologised about 50 times.
Yeah.
But I think it was the same guy that was just shouting and swearing constantly. And I don't know.
Was it?
It's a
I never heard it.
Policeman. Oh, yeah. Every 2 minutes, he stopped the game, said, sorry, I apologise if you caught any bad language there in the microphone. And I don't know, maybe send someone in and tell the guy to stop swearing. No?
Yeah.
Never caught it.
It's also mentioned that, it's also mentioned that in the comments there, a couple of folk have mentioned that the penalty that Livingston didn't get at Ibrox. So, Brian, did you catch that one? Do you want to talk about that?
I didn't catch it, but I briefly looked at Martindale coming out, and he's usually the sort of happy clapper when it comes to the Huns. Obviously that's his dream job, is to get the job at Ibrox. But by all accounts, I mean, I didn't see it, but by all accounts, it was usual. Who was referee? Was it Robertson? Was it at the Livingston game? Not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure who was the referee, but it was old cheating beating from the Crown Bar Loyal that was on VAR. So he was the one that decided it didn't need to be referred to VAR. David, did you catch that one?
I did, and he should have gone to VAR, no question. So how it didn't, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how VAR now is just gaslighting us now, all the rules around it. I don't know, because I thought it was specifically used for instances where the wrong decision had been made, and that was its purpose in life, not to referee the game, but in these instances. So how it's not a penalty, I don't know.
Yeah, there seems to have been some narrative concocted that it came off his thigh before it hit his hand, and this is why it wasn't a penalty. But talking about gaslighting, I feel as if I've just been completely gaslit, because I've watched it about 100 times and it never went anywhere near his thigh. It was straight onto the hand. The hand was out from the body. The ball was going towards goal. So 100% a penalty kick. And I think there needs to be some questions asked. I'm sure Rangers won't be firing off a letter to the SFA this week. But I think that was miles worse than anything that went against them in the cup final against us. But we'll let them warble on about that. Move on.
Wasn't there some chat just on that one though? There was some other chat about there was confused information given to players about why the decisions were made, similar to what Lennon was told differently. So there might be some more chat to come up about that coming up, but as you say, leave them to it.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, there seemed to be an SFA spokesman got right onto the media almost straight after the game to push this narrative that the ball came off the guy's thigh. So I'd be interested to know who that was, because that's not normally the case.
No, that's right.
It sounds as if they were trying to cover something up, but we'll move on from there and get back to our game. So this was another sort of half chance for Celtic. Really good. By this point, Scales had moved to left wing back, which as Brian will tell us, he excelled for Ireland over the 2 games. So he was playing at left wing back there. Interesting that Inamura is still not been seen, even though we're down to 1 fit left back and Kieran Tierney with Sirachi being out injured now. So obviously Inamura, despite a lot of people saying Rodgers was being unfair on him and by not picking him, obviously O'Neill doesn't fancy him either, and he's nowhere near the squad. So when Tierney goes off, Scales moves to left back, and this was a really good cross from Scales, which Maeda got a glancing header on, and was a little bit unlucky. It just went beyond the far post. So that was a decent chance But that was about it, really, until 4 minutes into stoppage time. Brian, can you talk me through how good a goal this was from Callum McGregor?
It was my kid's birthday party, his 13th birthday party, and I was down in the back room watching the game, and a couple of my son's mates were having a sleepover, and they were, I don't know if they're sitting with her, it must have been about 9:45 or something like that, and I just let the biggest roar you've ever heard, and the dogs thought something was wrong, and what's going on, and once again, the man saves our bacon. And I'm running out of superlatives to talk about Calmac. Captain's just rises to the top, you know. He's just
a magnificent,
fabulous,
a magnificent strike, David. And you know, he has his critics, Cal McGregor, this season, but my God, he as Brian says quite correctly there, he saved our bacon a number of times, and he's pulled that game out of the fire.
Yeah, I mean, it's the confidence and the experience that he's got to be able to take a shot like that. A younger, more inexperienced player might not be as brave to take the opportunity at that time. And the only thing I would say is that maybe he's been released a little bit more to be able to play more forward and express his skills so that he can do this thing that he does. It's very Callum McGregor. Maybe he was missing playing for Scotland and needed to throw in a thunder goal just to show everybody he's still got it. Brilliant. Really lifted what was an average game at best. And just a tremendous strike. And it's Callum McGregor who can do these.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, just getting back to a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, do you think this qualifies as a thunder bastard?
Yes, that would most definitely be a thunder bastard. We need to obviously check with Paul to see if we can. But how many of them has he got this year? Like I remember last year, he was firing them in left, right, and centre, and especially the goal against the Maggie Mob in the semi-final. You know, he's really just, you know, he's dragging us through. It's like, do you remember Bruni's goal against when he did the infamous Bruni? You know, I mean, he's playing a captain's role. He's taking the game with the scruff of the neck and all the rest of it. And we need that now. And I hope to God, there's him, there's Scales. Schmeichel's been putting in a good shift. There's a lot more need to start upping their game a bit, you know. But he's leading from the front. They can't, you know, if any your man Balak wants to be part of the club, just look at your captain there and see what he's doing, you know. I think Tate's come on to a game since Martin's come in. I know he dropped him for the first game, and brought Negrin in. You know, I think with the addition, it needs to be a couple of players coming in to take the pressure off the team. The team's threadbare, and we'll look back at this as a title defining moment. You know, we get a draw. We're what? 5-6 points behind them. We're now winner game in hand, and we're a point behind. So he's just running out of superlatives for the man. That's just what a guy. Saved our bacon, and just so happy. And I'd be happy.
Yeah,
Martin was to quit while he's ahead. You know, but that's suppose we're going to go on to that now.
So we'll talk a bit about that. I'll talk a bit about that shortly. But that was a game. I think we could all agree it was one we got away with. And you're right, Brian. It's one I think we'll look back at the end of the season, much the same as the Ross County game a couple of years ago when Ralston scored the winner 7 minutes into injury time. So I think we will look back in that game as a kind of defining moment. But we'll draw a line under that for now, and we'll look back at events on Friday morning at Celtic Park, where the club held its AGM for 2025. And I think Martin O'Neill after it described it as a sad day for Celtic, and I think it was. I think it was a sad day and a disgraceful day for Celtic, because what panned out there was absolutely shambolic. Just to put a bit of, to put a bit of a timeline on it, the AGM started. Celtic played a video, tried.
So, folks watching earlier, Steve, before we came on, and that's why we're a couple of minutes late, Steve was struggling a wee bit with the internet connection. So we agreed that if he froze at any point, me and Brian would take it full. So whenever he comes back in, we'll let Steve just take back over again.
I suppose I could pick up David where Steve left off. I mean, I watched Harry Brady, Brian from Celtic Underground. He sneaked his phone into the AGM, which was great, and he had a couple of things on YouTube. But I think the meeting started at 10:30, and then they started playing a video of last season, and then Jeanette Findlay from Celtic Trust said, "Look, can we just skip to the questions?" And then I believe Peter Law, I believe Lawwell said, no, we're not having questions just yet. And then I think the red cards were held aloft, and shouts of sack the board and all the rest of it. And then I think they had a break, and then come back in again and says, look, Lawwell says, regardless of what's happening, we're leaving at 12. So for an AGM, I know I've never been at a real proper company AGM, but certainly an hour and a half doesn't seem that long for a business that's pulling in 100 million a year, maybe more. And then Ross Desmond's speech, which it was absolutely disgraceful, with his Dublin 9 accent, his just horrible person, coming out with making accusations against the Green Brigade, making accusations against the shareholders. And it would remind you of something out of Succession. You know what I mean? That tool that's, I don't know if you watch Succession, David, but there's a couple of characters in that. I mean, the main kind of guy just seems to be, my dad's got a plan and my dad's this, and you know what I mean? Grow up here. Anybody who, if I was in the situation, personally speaking, and the first thing I would have said, look, guys, I apologise, for where we are, but however, due to matters that we cannot speak about, this is our plan, this is what we're trying to do. But just to come out and shoot from the hip. And it was a pre-recorded statement. The statement was written by the dad, and it just became
I think that's right. I think there's a lot to unravel from it, Brian, from a corporate governance point of view. I'm no expert. I have been involved in an IPO. I know a little of what is necessary in terms of corporate governance, but again, no expert. But I do have questions about how you formalise the running of an AGM, what it means for the stock exchange that you are traded on, how what red flags are raised when your shareholders, and they are shareholders, not just fans, and if you have a non-executive, they are giving a speech. There's all sorts of questions, I think, that need to be raised about that. I might have it wrong, but there are going to be people more familiar with these things than I am. It stinks anyway, so I don't care that I technically don't understand the running of an AGM in that way. Don't care. It stinks. It was pre-planned. It was made to infuriate the fans, almost to get a reaction. Someone at some point sat down and said, we'll let this guy speak because we know they won't like that. Or his daddy said, you are going to speak on my behalf. And no one said that's a bad idea. Lots of process and governance issues, again, that needs to be. But if you are a company who is interested in your shareholders and those who are not direct shareholders, who are your customers, this was the worst presentation of your product that you could possibly imagine. The vitriol that I saw post the AGM from the WhatsApp groups that I'm involved in, you will be involved in, was unanimous in its disgust. Broader issues of entitlement, broader issues about the morality of their actions and the way in which they chase the Green Brigade, their direct action against them. There is so many things. Yeah, and Steve, you're back, and that's great. We haven't yet even unraveled it, so you can choose any point that you wish to discuss, because all we've done so far is laid out the points that came up that we all have issues with that AGM and the approach of the board. So please take us on a journey and unravel this for us.
So the main question is that everybody's asking today is, did the board want the AGM to collapse in itself like this? And I think the answer is a resounding yes. There's a lot of criticism out there of the people in the room, and particularly, and the board are trying to narrow this down to an issue that the Green Brigade have caused, or a sort of a collection of the Green Brigade and the Celtic Trust. But this wasn't the case at all, and it isn't the case at all. We here at Celtic World, we are very much part of the Celtic collective, and we agree we wholeheartedly agree with the direction the collective is going in, and it is not. We know for a fact that it's not just the Green Brigade and the Celtic Trust. These issues that we have with the board are widespread among the support. The Celtic collective together must represent tens of thousands of fans. When you look at all the different media supporters, clubs, associations that have all signed up to it. So that shite needs to be put to bed. This is not a Green Brigade issue, and it's not a Celtic Trust issue. This is an issue the board have. And I don't think I've ever seen a board of any company who treat their shareholders with the contempt that our board treats our shareholders and supporters. It started off with Peter Law, our esteemed chairman, telling all the shareholders, Billy, I mean, bear in mind, these are grown adults who own shares in Celtic, and he tells them to behave. Yeah. That was his words, behave. And I just couldn't believe that he took that attitude. They adjourned the AGM for 30 minutes because Jeanette Finlay approached the chair, asked them to stop the videos because it's useless nonsense. We don't want to hear it. We want to move on to another item of business so as we can ask questions. So anybody who thinks that the Celtic Trust were there to collapse the meeting or cause a disruption, that they were trying to get to the questions as quickly as possible so they could spend more time on the questions. So that was disgraceful.
Yeah. And then, can I just come in support of Jeanette as well? If we have had dealings with Jeanette, so again, through early meetings over a year ago where we were invited in through video conference, Jeanette was running the show. She's articulate, she's clear, she's unbiased, she's roundly in favour of the betterment of Celtic. This is not an individual who none of us don't. So we all back Jeanette. So let's be very clear about this. She does speak for us. So I did carry on. Sorry, Steve. I just want to be very clear on that.
Yeah, that's fine. So the AGM resumes after this recess for 30 minutes, and they move on to a statement by DermotDesmond, which was read out by his son Ross. Now, my first question is why. Well, the main question you have to ask is why is DermotDesmond not there, right? If he wants to run Celtic, he wants to be like a de facto owner of Celtic, and he's not there. My second question is Ross Desmond holds no office at Celtic, right? As far as I know, he doesn't own any shares. He doesn't sit on the board. So why is he there in a club suit and tie? and reading out a statement from a minority shareholder. Do all the minority shareholders get to make a statement? I don't think they do they? So I don't know why the board. Well, I do know why, because we have a board full of cowards who will not stand up to Dermot Desmond. So I don't know, Brian. Have you read the transcript of Ross Desmond's speech?
Yeah, I was saying earlier on to Stephen, it sounded like your man at his Succession. I don't know if you watched that program with Brian Cox, with the media mogul and the family, and Daddy's doing this. No, just anti-establishmentarian or anti-establishment comments and all the rest of it. I mean, I grew up as a Celtic fan that, you know, watched the Berlin Wall fall, watched Thatcher eventually fall. I've always been anti-establishment to the point of the establishment was usually wrong. Apartheid, like in Ireland. For him, very distasteful to come out with a statement like that, anti-establishment, considering, you know, Celtic was founded on the principles of raising money for poor Irish families in Scotland. So, you know, we keep saying, what would Jock Stein have said? What would Brother Walford have said if he was sitting there? You know, and I think I mean, I'm not going to come out and advocate it, but I think the next step for the collective would be not going to the games, and just that's it. And if anybody from Adidas, I'd hate to be the account manager for Adidas in Scotland or Glasgow. You know, people are watching on. The world is watching on, and these guys, you know, we have to keep going. We have to, you know, not a penny more campaign, and just make it so I always support the team. I don't care if there was 11 Liam Scales on the pitch or 11 Johnny Kennys. I'll support the team. You put the club, the shirt on, I support you. I don't support the people that are running the club, and they've just made themselves out to be complete idiots who are so disconnected from the club. But I think the next thing, unfortunately, would be not the fans not going to games. I think that's where we are now. I think, and not even a mention about the manager, nothing. I think that's what we need to do. You know, shock. We've tried to be nice. We've tried to engage. We've tried to do this, that, and the other. And it's now time to get these guys out the door. And
I think we should share a little bit about the reaction. Obviously, everybody here who's in the chat comments, I'm in WhatsApp groups that with friends over the world and family ones that are all about Celtic, etc. A couple of us, 2 or 3 of us, are in the collective WhatsApp group. There's lots of chat there about what has to happen next. One of the things I want to do is a 24-hour, as we've done before. We've worked with Axom for some charity events to make sure people understand we are not going away. We are not letting this go. If Celtic board wanted things to die down by bringing Martin O'Neill in, they shouldn't have involved him in this AGM. They should have got him away from this and protected him, because that Jock Stein comment, I'm afraid, tarnishes him a little bit. He'll get past it, but they shouldn't have involved him at all. They in no way should have allowed that young boy, what's his name, pampered wee guy who's the son of whomever owns 34%, get up and stage and berate your customers. How dare you? There's anger, and I feel anger about this, and I'm not giving up. And I'm going to work with everyone here and the collective and your guys' support in the comments. We're not going away. There's more stuff to come. No one wants to deprive the team of funds or the club, but you're not going to deprive us of our team. So let's be very clear about this.
Listen, I've got Ross Desmond's speech in front of me here, so I'm just going to try and pick out a few bits of it and sort of try and illustrate, you know, what made people in the room so angry. So he starts out by saying, I'm here on behalf of my father. I'd speak for both him and myself. We felt compelled to make a statement because of the misinformation swirling around the club. It felt important to offer some clarity and respect. There's been much nonsense spouted about the people on this stage. There are those who lie in wait for any opportunity and any small opening to stir up toxicity around the club. Right, so that's the first thing that I think got people's hackles up. You know, he's accusing people of stirring up toxicity, right? As if, you know, we don't care about Celtic and that's all we do. So he talks about the fact that his father's a passionate Celtic supporter, which I don't believe. He first put money into Celtic, first we can't ask him to help. He wants the club to be healthy and successful. The board shares those desires. We act prudently, not recklessly. Those who accuse the club of holding cash or being in it for the money display a deep misunderstanding of financial responsibility. So that's the first patronising pish on display. The board has a duty of care. We do blah blah blah. Celtic must maintain strong reserves and contingencies to protect against unforeseen circumstances. You know that's.
I mean, how often do they keep playing that? You know what I mean? That's like yesterday's news. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he continues on. Those who talk about the club not having kicked on in Europe since 2003 ignore the enormous change in the financial landscape of football in that period. It's created a gap which keeps growing. It's created and challenges any club playing in smaller European leagues. Most supporters understand that. Now, this is a week after we've been pumped unceremoniously by Midtjylland, right? A club with a fraction of our resources. A club who 15, 20 years ago would have hammered home and away. And we went in that game, we've lost comfortably. And no one was surprised, really.
Yeah.
So that's just utter nonsense, isn't it, David?
So I think there's a lot of stuff that they've thrown in there. One of the other ones, the myths that they seem to want to perpetuate is that podcasts like this or Celtic social media are somehow engaged in baiting the board and the club for likes. Get yourself to wherever you like with that nonsense. And people are doing this to make money. Who on earth makes money out of a Celtic podcast? We're out of time and money. We spend all of our time, our own time, working around our jobs that we go to. And he doesn't like that, does he? The fact that we actually are earners in society, but somehow we're anti-establishment. I've worked for banks for 30 years. The wee boy idiot that comes and tells us this nonsense and tries to push that out as somehow we're all rebellious little scum coming to take over and cause trouble because it gets us likes on the internet. Nonsense, you wee fool. This is something that we do to support the club that we love, the fellow supporters around the world, and we take our time and effort and time away from our families and jobs to do, idiots. So there you go. That's my response to that, Steve.
Yeah. So this is the next bit I'm going to read out. It's a bit where it starts to get absolutely mental, and you're thinking, what is going on here? Desmond then turned his attention to the fans who have targeted his father and his fellow board members, Lowell Nicholson and Chief Financial Officer Chris Mackay. We will not be bullied by aggressive or irrational factions, he says. We will not be railroaded by those whose only vocation in life is to be anti-establishment and by those who try to degrade the club. Now, how, Brian, I'll throw this one to you. How elitist is that, and how out of touch does this guy sound? I mean, even ignoring the fact that Celtic are by their nature anti-establishment, but who the fuck does he think he's talking to?
Yeah. No, they're like the last bastion of Donald Trump and Top Gear, these sort of fat, white, wealthy, right-wing to a certain degree men. And that's not something I've been brought up with, and I've always been the outsider, and the club have been the outsider. I remember my late father telling me that always have to play against 12. We're playing against 11 plus the referee. So know your audience and don't come out with crap like that. And just because you're a Celtic fan, I mean, look at Willie Hawkey. He's a Celtic fan. He's got a few bob about him, and he's manage to be establishment. You know what I mean? So they're just talking out their arse, as I said before, and it's just, they need to just go, get out of our. I would rather us be 100 million in debt, have a team on the pitch, and a couple of guys from. Remember that Sunderland program that was on Sunderland Till I Die? Somebody has a bit of balls, do something. You know what I mean? We've all seen, this revolution at Hearts. You know that there's your revolution. They couldn't beat Aberdeen. We're there, but you know we just want Celtic to be the best Celtic that they can possibly be and run and be run as a proper club. I mean, the Huns got to the final against in Manchester. Then they died, and then they come back again and got to another European final. So if they can do it after dying and going into the Division 3-4, well, why can't we? Considering we've all the biggest stadium, the biggest income, etc. But no, that's the nail in the head for me as far as the club is concerned. The board, and the everything else. Martin's brought back a wee bit of the feel good factor, but I think for Martin's kind of legacy, he needs to just stop this old man, young man stuff. You know, you're not Harry Enfield, lad. You're manager of Celtic. And I don't really find it too. When they're asking about fitness issues, he doesn't know. You need to know everything about the club. You need to know who's doing what when's. I mean, that's the thing. You're managing Celtic. You're managing. You're coaching the club. You're managing the club. You're everything about you, Celtic. You know, that's with Ferguson and Jock Stein. They were involved in booking hotels and training facilities and getting that extra edge. You know what I mean? I just think I don't know where to begin. I really don't. But I think the board just need to get and I would, if somebody said to me, Bran, I need a grand, if every Celtic fan gives a grand each or 500 quid or whatever to remove these guys, I think we'd all do it. You know, if that's what it takes to remove these guys, and I would put it in, and I wouldn't want to money back.
I have no fear whatsoever about the idea that Celtic Football Club would not be well run should these individuals not be part of the setup. I could guarantee, I could look across the corporate world and bring individuals in who would relish the opportunity to take a club like Celtic with the support that it has to the next level. And we've seen it. We've absolutely seen it. We have TV series based on freaking Hollywood actors coming in and American football people coming in. And we don't need that. We don't want to be flashy. We don't need shows. We've got our videos and memories of who we are. We're not the bottom of the barrel club that requires someone to come in and save us. It's an utter nonsense. There is within the Celtic support more than enough capabilities of individuals who could ensure that it was a club well run. We all want it to be balanced. We've seen a rival die because of financial irresponsibility. We don't want to be that club. We're not braggers. What we are is a club based in society, not establishment. We are a club that is always in pursuit of looking after the underdog. And that right now is us, because we've got to face off to these corporate junkies and get rid of them. And don't worry that we can't have people who are sensible enough to run this club in a right way. Don't worry about it.
I mean, you look at Wrexham. Wrexham, what's the history? What do you think about Wrexham when you think of history? I personally think of your man used to play for United, Mickey, the Welsh guy that was done for betting. And, you know, the Wrexham beat Man United 2-1 back in 85 or something like that. Remember your wee guy, the wee Welsh guy, Mickey, somebody, the long hair?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Other than that, what's Wrexham? But look at it. We don't need a Hollywood guy to come in. We just need somebody.
Just I'll just to jump in there and just get back onto this statement, because there's a couple of more points I want to make regarding this statement. So I'll move on to the next bit where he's saying, our board led by Peter and our executive led by Michael are dedicated Celtic people. The attempts to dehumanise and vilify them are shameful. These are people with families. They love the club every bit as much as anyone here. And when we are not performing, they suffer just as much as anyone. Now, if you take that statement there about vilifying them and dehumanising them, that was exactly what was done to Brendan Rodgers.
Exactly.
By this person's father when he used the Celtic website to vilify and dehumanise him and basically say he was acting in he was sabotaging the club for his own self-interest. So these people have no idea of self-reflection. They just live in a different world from us. And I'll just move on just to the sort of last bit. Celtic was founded as a club open to all, and we have a tradition of having the greatest fans in the world. We must now protect that reputation that was created over generations. The behaviour of certain sections increasingly brings the club and its fan base into disrepute. The incident a few weeks ago at the Falkirk match was symptomatic of wider behaviour. These people are bullies, and they try to hijack the behaviour of Celtic supporters. We cannot allow them to define who we are. I am well aware of the target I put on my back when I say this. Now, it's very interesting there. He's talking about the incident with the Green Brigade that happened at the Falkirk match a few weeks ago. And I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to the Homeboys one-on-one with Scott McCrory and the two boys from the Green Brigade. If you haven't, I would encourage you to go and have a listen to that if you want to hear both sides of the story, that is. And he's talking about putting a target on people's backs. Well, what's happened there is that 3 young Celtic supporters have had their doors kicked in early in the morning. One of them, he was living at home with his father, who had a chronic health issue. By the way, they didn't knock the door first. They didn't give him the opportunity to open the door. They just kicked it in. Took away the father's mobile phone and any method he had for contacting anyone in the case of an emergency. And one of the other ones, he didn't actually, the door they kicked in, he didn't actually live at that address. And the only time he used that address was on a season ticket at Celtic. So what's that telling you? That's telling you that Celtic have provided that. This is all allegedly, by the way. But this is telling you that Celtic have provided that information to Police Scotland. And he's talking about putting targets on people's backs. That's exactly what he's done. David, have you had a chance to listen to that Homeboys podcast?
I haven't listened to that, but I've read enough, and there was other podcasts that covered and gave descriptions about this type of event that took place with the Green Brigade. Let's be in no doubt that someone at Celtic has a particular grudge against the Green Brigade. The Celtic support have largely been either warm to them or okay and very few against, because they bring so much entertainment generally and have been on the right side of history in terms of the support from Palestine. But someone very clearly at Celtic, because of the constant targeted approach against the Green Brigade, it's clear. So I'm not going to talk about individual events, how horrific those are, because they stand on their own. And if anybody thinks that that is acceptable behaviour by the establishment, then I want nothing to do with them. I've never publicly gone out and defended the Green Brigade or said I don't know any members of the Green Brigade. I don't have friends who know them either. But I stand with the Green Brigade now. It's horrific stuff, and it's clearly coming from a source allegedly within the club.
And you look at who we're in bed with, Police Scotland and the Sun. So you couldn't get any more right wing than that. That's what I'm going to say. Masonic, and Tory rags, and it's just time to get them all out. They're a cancer in the club, and that's the bottom line. And when you hear stories about players getting sold that didn't even want to go. I mean, over the years, your guy Joe Ledley said he never wanted to leave Celtic. Matt O'Reilly didn't want to leave. He was told you have to leave. Sorry, lads, see ya. But the old saying goes, you have to crack an egg to make an omelette, and certainly we're not in a great place. But just imagine if those guys would have a bit of humility and realise and accept. I mean, I've made many a mistake over the years, and I've stood up and said, no, that was me. I ballsed up, or I did this, that, and the other. And I took ownership of my mistakes and my actions. But for them guys to just sit and blame, and no, it's not us, it's them, it's this, it's that, and the other. If you're an independent observer looking in, and you're seeing that nobody coming up to Christmas, Celtic fans aren't buying any merchandise from Adidas. They're not spending any money in the ground. They went to shareholders meeting, put the red cards up. The meeting was abandoned. The way they're treating the fans, what do they expect? The next port of call would be not going to games, and they have forced our hand, and they're through their negligence of an incompetence, not being able to put a team on the pitch. Imagine in any situation, head of BBC gets the bullet. Next day, there's a manager in BP, H-Boss, Bank of Scotland, you name it. Goes on. List goes on, and these guys are still fannying around like it's the 80s. They're not fit for purpose. They just need to go and get out. I mean, we could have had McTominay. Well, I think, a few years ago.
Yeah. See, my view, and I'll get your view on this as well, David. I think the club is in a very dark place at the moment. I'm not really sure. I think the battle lines have been drawn. I think this is coming from the very top. I think dermotdesmond has declared war on the support. I think there's no way back. For both sides. And I think Brian's right. This situation is only going to escalate. So where do you think we go from here?
Well, this board will be removed, I believe, in time. It seems to me that it's ego, money, and other things which corrupts their minds to think that they are an untouchable bunch, that somehow this won't bite them. Celtic fans love the club, and it is the collective of the Celtic fans that is the spirit of the club, and they don't own that, and you're not going to be able to buy that. And I will not be coming on to podcasts to improve my wealth of whatever it is they suspect us of doing. It will intensify. It is indicative. I mean, they don't read history, and they don't care to look back and see where this ended up. Someone else said earlier that they just ran out of money. They might have been financially incompetent. This is not this board. And they have billionaire financial clout. I don't know. I can't hold $1 billion in my head. I assume it's a lot of money. But I don't think Ross will want to come to many games anytime soon. Because on a personal human level, you are rejected by a society, a collective, a spirit of a team of people that you are not welcome into anymore because you don't represent us. So this is going to end badly. There's a larger, wider piece of the billionaire class running society and stuff. I'm not going down tunnels. I'm not going down rabbit holes. But it cannot be allowed to be in our place, in our appreciation of our family, our traditions of Celtic. They're open to all.
Yeah.
The club founded in charity. This cannot be allowed to be removed from us by people who are of the billionaire class. They have no sense of who they are anymore, and they're taking us down a whole dark tunnel. We're not going. We're going to stay here and ensure you are the ones who leave.
I mean, you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Sorry, but I think if one good thing's come out of this AGM is that nobody can be in any doubt now of what they think of us. They hold us in the utmost contempt, and that's everyone. And I like to think of myself as a reasonable person. I'm not a non-contributor to society. I'm a shareholder in Celtic. I've been supporting Celtic for close to 50 years now. And I know, at least I now know that they hold me in the utmost contempt, and as they do us all.
All of
this
us.
isn't just about the Green Brigade. This is about the Celtic, the wider Celtic support, and I think this will go a long way. Not everyone, but will go a long way to uniting the Celtic support behind the collective and whoever's trying to make change. I'll leave the last word to you, Brian, on this, because we're going to have to wind up the show.
Yeah.
Martin O'Neill's role in all this, my worry when O'Neill came in to the club was that he was going to tarnish his reputation, and that would break my heart. I know it would break certainly people of my age. He's an absolute legend. Are you concerned that he's going to tarnish his reputation?
He's come in,
is he tarnishing his reputation?
I think he may be part of the problem. God love him. Too many yes men. Too many. Thank Dermot. Thank this. Thank the other. It brought me back to something. One of the first sort of Celtic games I went to when I was on my own, without my father, and I was going from Belfast, and I remember there being a kid about 16, 17, and he'd lost his tickets, he lost his whatever, he lost his money, and and everyone on the bus just clubbed in and gave a couple of quid in each to them, and that's the Celtic family. When you put the green and white on, we're all one. That's it. We are all the same, regardless of what money you have or where you're from or what colour, creed, and we will get through this. We've got through worse than this in our lives. We've got through passing of parents and losing of loved ones and the whole COVID thing. And Celtic is very big. I mean, remember Ange turned around and saying that the time would be the Huns 3-0. And he says, if I can bring a bit of positivity into people's lives on a Monday morning, going into work or whatever, and that's it. Celtic is very, very big for people's mental health. And you could be in a world of pain, and then 3 o'clock on a Saturday comes and the Celts are on, and that's it. That's what the club's about. I have no interest in anything else other than the club being the best it can be, and having the values that it was founded on, And anyone that turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, but Celtic want to buy out Messi and Ronaldo," I know that. We'll cut our clothes accordingly, but there is a real disconnect. But as you said, it is united. We're all united as one against this board, and we will continue to be united against the board. And I don't care if we've no shirt sponsor. O'Neill's are there waiting to step in. If Adidas aren't interested. But the thing it is, we're united and up with Celts.
Up with Celts.
All right.
Steve, before you close us off, can I just say one thing? I need to say hello to my nephew, Jono, who's watching right now in Portugal, because we are, of course, Celtic World.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, I'll echo your sentiments. So yeah, we'll wind up the show there. Thanks. It was a bit of a difficult one. Emotions are high. We're all angry, but as Brian says, we'll get through this, and we'll come out the other side. So thanks, David. Thanks, Brian. And thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Who's took the time. Thanks to everyone who's took the time to leave us a comment. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. Give us a hand. We're just you're quite a small channel trying to build ourselves up. So every like helps. We've got a show later on tonight with Paul and Anthony doing a tactical review of the St Mirren game. They'll go drill into it a lot deeper than we did. And we'll have another show on Thursday night where the guys will look forward to the Feyenoord game. So with that, I'll say good night, everyone, and keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Hail.
Keep the faith.
Instead of this settling for mediocre, imagine what we could be.